Hey guys, welcome back. So in this lesson, I want to go over families, and specifically how we can start creating our own families. So for this example, I want to create a table, and that might seem a little bit easy, and ours actually isn't even going to have legs, so that'll make it even easier. But the goal of this lesson, and in fact the next couple lessons, is not just how to build components, but also how to make them parametric, so that you don't have to adjust every single thing that you put into your model or go into the families and make adjustments every time. So to start, under Families, I will click on New, and I'm going to scroll down and select Furniture, since we will be making a new piece of furniture. Now, knowing about our reference plane, we're going to be starting in our first plan, and you'll see that we have a new Create tab that's filled with all sort of options so we can control these elements. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a reference line. Now, reference lines are actually a pretty universally useful tool for whatever you may need. And this could be for setting different dimensions for extrusions, or it could also be for your parameters. So I'm going to make two sets of lines, and I'm actually going to make them kinda small. Large enough that you can see them, but small enough that they won't get in the way later on. So I'm just going to design a rectangle here, more or less. So now with these lines, and again, these are just lines, they're just reference lines, nothing structural. So what I'm going to do now is click in, and then I'm going to go to the Annotations tab. And from the Dimension panel, I'll choose Aligned Dimensions. So with Aligned Dimensions, if I click one point, click another, and then click off, it gives us the random dimensions that we originally created. But I'm going to set these equal, and what this will do, as we showed in previous lessons, is when I move one, it's going to move the other in an equal measure, originating from the center point. So now that I've done that with the x-axis, I'm going to go back and do the same, annotate and aligned, but with the y-axis. So I'll put in my aligned dimensions, and then I will set them equal. So that means that both sides are going to be automatically equal. So this is already pretty good, because our different sides are separated, and they'll adjust automatically as we make changes. But what if we actually want these to be parametric? Well, this is where dimensions and reference lines really come in handy. So I'm going to click into my reference line, and then I'm going to click off my dimension. And I'll do the same thing, creating another dimension on the y-axis. Once I've done that, I'll hit Escape, and now that we've created these two new dimensions, I actually want to go in and make them parametric. So I'm going to choose my x-axis parameter, and under Label, instead of None, I'm going to select Add Parameter. A window will appear, and you'll see Type Parameter and Instance Parameter. Now if you remember the difference between type and instance parameters, instance parameters can be changed very quickly from the Properties window on the left. If you choose Type Parameter, it'll create a specific type of table, which will affect multiple different types. Ultimately, it's up to you and your needs whether you do instance or type, but I'm going to keep mine as a type here, and I'm going to name my type parameter Base Width. I'll hit OK, and then I'll go in and do the same thing with the y-axis dimension. Only now I'll go with the base width that we already created. By setting both sides to base width, it'll automatically make them the same length. Now if I go into Family Types and change this value to 4 feet and then hit Apply, then you'll see that the base width for my reference lines and dimensions became 4 feet. So for right now I'm going to hit Undo from the Quick Access toolbar, which should set things back. And remember, you can make all these changes from Modify, Properties, and Family Types. Now that's how you can do it if you want to make some sort of square family. But for now, I don't want them to be equal. So I'm going to go back into my label, and I'm going to add another parameter. I'm going to keep it as a type parameter, and I'm going to call it Base Length. Alright, and once I have the name in there, I'll click OK. Once I've got my base width and base length set, I'm now ready to actually build my base. So I'm going to create an extrusion, and I'm going to select a rectangle, and I'm going to draw it right over my reference lines. And you'll notice when we do that these little locks come up. Well, I'm going to click on each one of them. And the reason for that is that I want these lines that I created to follow the reference lines that I already have put in place. Once I click Exit Extrusion, you'll see a start and an end point in the Properties window. Now in this case, what I'm going to do is click into my front view. And you can see that my extrusion is 1 foot. Now I want to set a height for my extrusion. So I'm going to go back into Create, and I'm actually going to create another reference line. And I'll just throw it up at a certain height. Now I'm going to click on my extrusion. Most of the time, you can just go to Properties and adjust the values. But here, I'm going to drag it up to my reference line, and then I'll click the Lock button. Now you can do the same thing to the bottom if you want to, then click the lock. What this does is, if we move that reference line now, the top part of our box, which is locked, will move along with the line. Now I'm going to create an aligned height dimension. Just like before, I'll click on my 2 reference lines, and then I'll click off. Once I've made my dimension, I'll then go in and create a new label, and I'll call that parameter base height. We'll keep it as a type parameter, then hit OK, and now you have your base height. Now if we go into 3D view, you'll notice the text might be a little bit large, but we can always adjust our scale to make it a little bit easier to see. Regardless, now if we click on family types, we can adjust those parameters however we need. So if we set the base height to 2'6" and hit apply, then the box gets taller. I can also go in and change the base length to 1'6", and the base width as well. And when I hit apply, the box will change as well. So you can see that now that we've added in these parameters, we can change them quickly however we need to. So I'll hit OK to close that out. And now that we've built our table base, in the next lesson, I'll show you how to build a table top. See you then.